yeah. I need this, right?
Right. And yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So the a little disconnect happened there that when because we were talking about B, you didn't kind of like go into the bar chord mode of, oh, I just have to make an A family chord at the second fret,
Right.
and whatever shape I would do to A to get me seven or minor is what I need. So again, B minor, when we need B minor, what do you do?
Just go right here.
Yeah, yeah. Careful, bar more. Make sure the bar goes across the sixth string as well.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Because like it, at least you have to be touching the sixth string because like right there it came out open and you got to make sure that you're that yeah. And so when you play a bar out of the A family, you want to make sure that you still bar all six strings because you certainly don't want the open E to be heard at all or take
Be
the
part
chance
of it.
of it
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
out. You know.
yeah. Okay.
Um,
Okay.
and so a quick review then of just kind of how bar chords work because we've got our two main families,
Right.
which are what?
We've got the E family,
Yeah,
uh, which we would, which we can play. Um, well, so starting with E, and then we can play F here,
yeah,
and then we can just move up
right.
the neck all the
Yeah,
way.
yeah. And then in that E family, how many
Uh-huh.
different E chords do you know right off the top of your head? How many different members of the E family are like fresh in your head?
Well, E, E minor, E7.
Good. Those are the three most important.
Okay.
Okay, and then that means you could play any note, any root
Right.
that you need a major, a minor, or a seven chord just by knowing what fret you have to take E to.
Yes.
So, for example, where do you have to take E to be at C?
To be at C, well, I'll just march E up here from F to G to A to B to C.
Yeah, yeah. And where would you have to play? Then the other. Oh, and right there. So just by moving one or two fingers, you could make it minor, or seven,
Right.
or maybe minor seven. Do you know what you do to make that chord, that shape, minor seven?
Let's see. So if this is okay, that's minor. No, minor.
No, you had it. That was it. You just changed
Oh,
family.
right. I'm in the
Okay.
E family. Right.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's E minor.
Right.
Um, let's see. The seventh is here.
What do you do to change the major shape to the seven shape? Go back to major. And what do you do to make it seven?
Um, to make it seven,
What
I'm gonna
moves or what changes?
flat the fifth.
Um, no. But actually, what you should be thinking of here is not like the math or the formula involved,
Okay.
just the shape of the chord you need. We're in the E family. What? How do you play E7?
Um, E7 is just that.
No.
No,
You
that.
only change one thing. No, no, you were close. Back to major first. Major. Everything
Oh,
back on.
major.
Yeah. Only one thing changes to make it seven. You just took two off a second ago.
Okay. Oh,
Right. Okay, so that's the seven shape out of the E
yeah,
family, right?
right,
And so any place you play that on the neck, it's something seven. If you move it up to another fret, it's C sharp seven,
right.
right?
Yeah,
Okay. And so to make it minor seven, the two things that change to make it minor and to make it seven, they both change.
right.
So what changed to make it minor from major to minor? Just yeah. So that is what now?
That's minor seven.
Right.
C minor seven.
Okay.
Yeah,
So that's the fourth kind of important member of the family. And
yeah,
so all four of those should be like instantaneous recognition. Major, minor, seven, and minor seven. And then you just need to have know what fret you have to get any place. I mean, to get to whatever note you're looking for, right? Well, I'll come back to that in just a second because what you want. No, I'll talk about this right now. You want to have certain frets memorized that you never have to count to again, like the fifth fret. Now, a second ago when I asked you about using the E family to get to C, you counted all the way from F to G to A, and you want to have been able to jump to A. I know A is at the fifth.
Right.
And use that as then it's much easier to see the distance, like to C. It's going to be 3 frets to C from A, right? You know. So it'd be good to try to get out of the habit of counting from the beginning every time, because every time you get to the fifth fret, it's going to be A, right? It's not going to change.
Right.
Anyway, but that's the E family, right? And so the E family works its way up the neck, and then those 4 shapes. Then you want to have the same 4 shapes in the A family.
Right.
So starting with A major, we got that, A minor, and A7, and A minor 7. How would that work?
So we had, see, that was A minor.
Right.
Does it have enough notes in it?
Not quite. So you have to make it minor first,
Okay, so
and then 7. What was the note that changed to make it 7 from A? I mean, from when you had A major on,
right.
what do you do to make it 7 now?
I need to have a G.
But you have this chord memorized. You played it just a second ago. Like, don't worry about the formula or the math. Just what's A7?
Right here.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Scott. Yeah.
Okay. And when you changed from A to A minor, what did you change? Which note or which string changed to make it minor?
The same one. I went from A
Right.
to A minor.
Right. And which string changed right there? What string had something different?
Well, it's the B string, but
Right. Right. And when you made it 7, what string changed?
The G string.
So you just have to do those 2 changes at the same time to make it minor 7.
Okay.
So go back to A minor,
Yeah.
and now change the G string the way you did to make it A7. Yeah. So that's...
Yeah. Okay.
Does that make sense? You following me?
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It was.
So another kind of... So that's A minor 7. You know, so
Right.
what makes that chord 7 is the open G string. Whether it's A or A minor, doesn't matter. It's the note G that makes it 7,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And what note changed? What do you do to change from major to minor? What note has to change? Or now the math. Now I'm looking for the math. Like
The
what do you?
third.
The third has to get lowered a half step, right? So we flat the third.
Right.
So that means that the third of an A chord must be the note on the second string, because that's the note that we flatted.
Right.
Right. And then the 7th got added on the third string.
Right.
Right. And it's a kind of a really interesting distinction that I want to make here. That is, when we play a major or minor chord, when we change a major chord to minor, we change one of our 3 notes.
Right.
To make it 7, we add a 4th note. We're not changing anything. We're losing something, but what we're losing is a note that is duplicated somewhere, usually. Yeah. Okay? So like what did we lose to get that G that made it 7?
We lost the A, the other A. We have
right, and it doesn't matter.
Here.
Right, exactly. So again, the distinction I want to make sure there is that sometimes we change a note, sometimes we add a note, you know, but they can look the same down here. It's like, oh, I changed the note on the third string. No, you didn't. I mean, well, you kind of did to make it 7, right? But the real effect was we added a 4th note.
Right.
Right. And so if we have a chord like C, I don't know if you want to get into this much theory today, but if we had we'll get back to Melissa in a few minutes maybe. um, the re- E and A are easy to play all four of those chords: major, minor, seven, and minor seven.
Right.
Okay, but when we have a chord like C, play a C chord.
Okay.
What would we have to do to this chord to make it minor?
To make it minor, so the third of C would be the E here.
Okay,
So in order to make it minor, I'd have to flat that.
right,
And so let's see, how would I play that? I'd still have to, let's see, this C is redundant up here,
right,
but B is not in the chord, so I can't just let go of that and
right.
use it up here.
Well, right. So in order to flat that E on the fourth string, you're going to have to do some finger contortioning here.
Right,
You know, either try to move your second finger back, which is going to be really hard,
yeah,
or you have your first finger go get that note, and then have your second finger cover the C that you just lost.
yeah,
Okay, this is
yeah.
not going to be. This is no. You have to be one fret lower. They have to both be at the first fret.
Oh, yeah, that's not going to work.
Right. Okay. That's okay. And not only that, that's not the biggest problem with this chord. What note do you have on the first string right now?
E.
What are we going to do about that?
Yeah, we have to get, um,
Can't flat it.
right.
We'd have to change it to another note in the chord, which would be the next higher note. What's the other note in a C chord?
Um, well, we have C, E, and G.
And G. So you could play a high G with your little finger on the first string.
Yeah, I could.
But then you'd still have to have those other two notes at the first fret.
Right.
Okay, we're getting out of this rabbit hole right now, but I just wanted to have a quick thing
Yeah,
of this is why there's a reason that there's not a reasonable way to play a C minor chord. There's a couple reasons. One is first of all, it'd be very difficult. The biggest problem is we have two thirds in this chord. We have to fix them both,
right,
and one of them's open, which means we have to change it to a different note in the chord.
right.
And anyway, so this is true of a G chord as well. This is why you've never played a C minor or a G minor other than playing them as bars, because they both have multiple thirds and one of them's an open string. And
Okay.
so in the case of the G chord, it's the open B string that is the
Yeah,
problem. You know,
yeah.
so there are definitely ways to play those chords if you're finger picking something and can avoid certain strings.
Yeah.
So there are ways around it, but not ways to like strum to play something like Hotel California or Sister Golden Hair or something like that.
Right,
So
right.
anyway, so the end of this story is those four shapes really work on having instant recognition or be able to pin down um, what shape you need and then what fret you need for different chords, and having the fifth fret as a reference point for both families, knowing that if you play the E family at 5 you're at
Yeah.
A, and if you play the A family at 5 you're at what?
Um, you're a D.
So so you should never count from 0 again for anything when you can use 5 as your starting point. And then
Okay.
also, another really maybe not so obvious, but a really important reference point is the 12th fret.
Right,
Because if you barred the 12th, you'd be back to E and A.
right. You're back to the same. Yeah.
Right. So if I pose the question of like, what frets can you play a D chord at? The answers would be out of the A family, you'd be at what fret that we just talked about?
Fifth.
Fifth. And where would you have to be out of the E family for it to be D without counting? Do it in your head.
Without counting to be D. So C, you have to be at the seventh.
Not quite. Wait, where was C? Or why did you start with C?
C was at the oh no, C was at the seventh. You had to
Not
be at the
quite.
ninth.
Not quite. A is at the fifth, right?
A was at the fifth. B's at the seventh.
There you go.
Yeah, B's at the seventh. So
So where's C?
C's at the ninth. D's at the tenth.
Close. Yes, D is at the 10th, but C wouldn't be at the ninth. C was at the 8th. B to C is only a half step.
Oh, right, 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 right,
Right?
right,
Okay.
right.
But the quicker way to have gotten there is thinking about the 12th fret.
Uh-huh.
E is at the 12th. So
Right.
D is right before it.
Yeah, has to be at the 10th.
Yeah, yeah. So
Yeah.
it's try to think of the neck not as an infinite line of stuff. It's a closed line. It's a circle. When you get to 12, you're right back where you started.
Right.
So there's a lot of stuff I try to relate in music to circles rather than lines. In terms of, there's no infinity involved here. You know,
Right. Right, right,
yeah.
right.
So
Okay.
anyway, so work on that a little bit, like quickly knowing what fret you'd have to get to, and one more little piece of reference here.
Yep.
In the E world, the first thing we get to is F, which would be at the first fret.
Mm-hmm.
And in the A world, the first thing we get to is B, which is at the second fret.
Mm-hmm.
But after that, when I get to the third fret, I have a natural note chord at each place. I've got G and C. G out of the E family, C here.
Yep.
And as I continue up the neck, all of the white keys or the natural notes line up at the same frets. The third, I've got G and C. At the fifth, I've got A and D, B and E, and then both half steps kick in, B to C and E to F. So the eighth, at frets 3, 5, and 7, I don't have any sharps or flats.
Right.
And then at 8, 10, and 12, it's the same deal. I've got another set of 3 that are always, it'd be C and F and D and G, and then back to E and A. Okay. So it's pretty easy to kind of, assemble that little piece of information and get much quicker at thinking, if we need C sharp, where am I going? Well, I know C's at the 3rd, so we're going to the 4th. I also know C's at the 8th, so we're going to the 9th. It's like you don't have to have everything instantly memorizable, but pretty soon they will be. The more you play bar chords, it's like you won't even think of C sharp as by finding C first. You'll just remember, and you already know you played C sharp minor in Melissa, so yeah, the C sharps are at the 4th fret.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, that's good little homework kind of stuff to studying work to do.
Okay. Well, okay. That then is sort of leads into the other thing in Melissa that I was thinking about in terms of scales, and I was asking myself. So I was watching the video of Greg Allman and Dickie Betts, which is really
it was really good. Yeah,
I could actually play along with that.
All right,
that was fun. That was fun. But watching Dickie Betts play lead over the series,
yeah,
and then trying to understand the and why that worked. Okay, that was my self-imposed homework.
Yeah,
and so I was trying to talk myself through why and how this works.
Okay.
Pentatonic scales.
Did you print that up from my site?
Yes.
I thought so. I haven't seen that like in 10 years, but I think, hey, wait, I think I did that. Yeah.
Well, it's annotated.
That's okay. Yeah.
Annotated with my my answers to the question. So I started with what I did was I went backward to the notion that the E scale, the E major scale, and the notes of the E scale, E, then F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, and we're back to E.
Good. Yeah, yeah.
So that scale then repeats itself all the way up in the neck and all.
Yeah.
And so then the pentatonic scale is 5 of those 7 notes, and we can talk about why that's the case.
Okay.
I'm sure there's a reason.
I'll get that. I'll get to that in a minute.
Anyway, there's 5 of those 7 notes, and the pentatonic patterns take those 5 notes and use as a starting point whatever the numbered note happens to be
Right.
in the particular place. So in this picture, um, the E at the 7 point, which is our seventh fret of the fifth string, there is one, and then on up from there. And what we're missing, or what we don't have in each one of these patterns, we have one, two, three. We don't have four. We have five and six.
Right.
And the pattern can repeat itself starting at any of those. So you could start at two and do the next five.
Yeah.
Five. We can start at three and do the five, and those.
Yeah.
That's what the difference is in the patterns.
Right.
And this particular pattern that's drawn here is overlapping. This appears to be. I'm trying to watch that video, Dickie Best. This appears to be what he's doing.
That's pretty much where he plays when he's playing in the key of E. That's the spot, especially on acoustic.
And in some cases, it goes all the way up to the 14th fret of the first string,
Right.
which is F sharp, which he then bends all the way up to G sharp,
Right.
which is the next note, which could have been there, but he bends it up there, and so in his mind, he has this pattern, and so then this is where I start to, because I can't quite sync this up.
Okay.
So when he's playing these notes that he's playing are part of the chords that are being played back here at the same time.
Right.
So we're going from E, and then we're going to F sharp.
And we want to think of that as F sharp minor.
Oh, F sharp minor, right? F
Yeah.
sharp minor. And then we're going to G sharp minor,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're going back to F sharp minor.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the question is, when that's happening, are the notes that he is playing at the moment that we're on those particular chords elements of those chords, or just elements of the key?
So it's a great question, and it's really but there's I got great answers for this kind of question. So
Okay.
first I want to ask you a question, and that is when we call that combo pattern one, or combo pattern or something like that.
Yeah.
It means it's using bits and pieces of, in this case, 3 different pentatonic patterns,
Yes.
right? And the difference between a scale and a pattern, and if you watch my video on this, I probably explained it too, but when you just played an E scale there a second ago, an E major scale in first position, and but a pattern is all of the notes in one area that are part of that scale.
Yes.
Which means it doesn't matter what note we start or end on. When you play a scale, you got to start and end on the first note, right?
Yes.
But so a pattern is just an array, a block of notes that take up a certain area of the fingerboard.
Right.
And so the 5 different pentatonic patterns that I lay out in the earlier parts of that lesson are, they all overlap. They cover the whole neck, and so and then whatever key you're in, you just have to rotate them to the right place. You just have to orient them to be in the right key.
Yes.
Okay? And on that chart you have, it says that the beginning pattern, the first pattern where it starts at the 7th fret, I'm calling that pattern 5.
Right.
And do you understand why?
Yeah, because it's because let's see, if it's pattern 5, that means that the 5th note, which is B, is the starting point of that particular pattern.
Perfect. And the important part about that is that's based on the 6th string.
The 6th string.
Right. So see, like right there in that combo pattern, we're starting on the 5th string. We're not even starting on the B, but the B would be on the 7th fret of the 6th string.
Yeah. Okay. Oh,
right.
Yeah. Sure. Okay.
Yeah. So
here's the E. Here's
Okay. So the complete pattern 5 would be this. That's pattern 5, right? And that butts up to pattern 6 that would be here. And so that combo pattern only plays 2 notes out of pattern 5, and then moves into pattern 6 for 3 strings, and then moves up into what would be pattern 1.
Right.
Oh, do I have all that in there? I'm not sure if I went far enough.
Well, you have that noted on the side over here.
Yeah, hold it up again. Let me see. Okay, good. I wasn't sure if I went all the way, so I did go all the way to the 14th fret. So it's parts of patterns 5, 6, and 1.
Right.
Okay, good. And so if we were going to play in the key of B, different song, we're playing in the key of B, then I'm pretty sure you understand that what we would do is we'd take pattern 1 and now put it on B.
Yes.
Okay, and that would put pattern 2 here and 3 here and 6 back before there.
Yes.
Okay, good. Okay, so now to get to kind of your question of like, why do we even use pentatonic patterns? I'm kind of branching out on your question a little bit now.
Yeah,
as opposed to why don't we just use the whole major scale? And in the interest of, well, full disclosure, but also just in truth, there's just not enough truth in the world right now. Dickie Betts uses more notes out of the major scale. He doesn't just use the pentatonic scale. And you may have noticed he played some notes that you're thinking, hey, that's not in Neil's pattern, you know? Now bending the F sharp to the G sharp, that's totally legit, you know? But you may have seen him do something like this. Now, what I just did right there was I brought in the 2 missing notes in certain spots. And the notes that are missing in a pentatonic pattern, an easy way to remember them is there are no half steps in a pentatonic pattern. Okay, so we have to lose one of the notes at each of our pairs of at each of our 2 half steps.
Sure.
And that means we have to lose either 3 or 4.
Right.
We don't want to lose 3 because it's an important note in chord number 1. Yeah. We want all the notes of chord 1 have to be in there, which would be 1, 3, and 5.
Yep.
So that's how we remember. Okay, 4 is out, and then 7 or 8, we can't lose 8, so 7's the one that's out.
That's the key. Right.
Right. Okay. So now, the reason people use pentatonics for scale or for playing leads is they're semi-idiot proofed. All of those notes are going to sound pretty good most of the time. You know, they're not going to have big clashes very often where you just hit a note and you think, oh man, that's got to be the wrong note, you know.
Yeah.
But there are times that'll happen. But so by eliminating the 2 half steps in there, you've eliminated the possibility of being a half step off of where you should have been.
Okay.
More or less. Okay, but now more to the point, when the melody to a song, like even the melody you would sing, freight train. Okay, that note that I sang for freight train clearly was in the chord I was playing, or it would have sounded, you know, if I sang this, freight train, you know, well, I can't even do that, but you know, you get the idea. But so that note I was singing is what we call a harmonic note, meaning it's in the chord right now, right? And at any given point, whether we're playing the 5-note pentatonic or the whole major scale, at any given point, for any given chord, at least 3 of the notes in the scale are in that chord.
Yep.
Maybe 4 even could be if we're playing a 7th chord, or when we get to these hybrid chords, I've got all the notes of an F sharp minor chord, and I've still got an E and a B in here. In other words, there are 5 notes that are okay now.
Yeah.
That I would consider harmonic.
Okay.
Okay.
Yep.
And so every time you change chords, so every note has a status. It's either harmonic or non-harmonic.
Right.
And harmonic means it's in the chord. Non-harmonic means it's not in the chord. Right. But it's still in the scale. It's still in the key. Right. Okay. There's another set of notes. There are 5 notes that are not in whatever key we're in. There's, you know, so we've got 7 notes in the key, 5 notes that are not in the key until we change keys. And there are times there are times when you can tap into some of those notes for a particular effect too. I would usually refer to them as chromatic notes, meaning not in the key right now. You have to change a note with anyway, you're a half step off from one of the notes in the scale.
Okay.
So really we have 3 possible status of notes: harmonic, non-harmonic, or chromatic.
Okay.
And that covers all 12 notes now, right? Okay, so now when you're playing a lead, sometimes you can play it. You usually want to start on a harmonic note, meaning a note that is in the chord is a great place to start and a great place to end. You got to like tie it up. Every time you play a non-harmonic note, you create some tension that has to resolve.
Okay.
Unless you're trying to create the effect of an unresolved note, which is totally okay too, So, the idea is, as you mess around with these notes, you start hearing places you can come home to rest on based on a particular chord, and other places where you hit that note, it's like, oh, I got to keep moving. I can't stay there. It's so if you feel like you can come to rest there, you're on a harmonic note, and if you feel like I got to get off of this note and keep moving, if you just go to the note above it or below it, there's a 95% chance. If we're using pentatonics, there's a 100% chance that note is going to be harmonic. Okay. So it's going to sound okay, Okay. So now when I played my little lead here a second ago, and I brought in the 2 missing half steps, you could hear there's a lot of interest. Like when I just played here, if I just run through the scale. Well, here's one of my half steps. You can kind of hear that. That's got to resolve somehow. Well, it resolves really nicely. That's note 4 of the scale, okay. And so it came back down. When I brought it back down to 3, you could hear the tension get relieved a little bit. Okay. Okay. And it would be more noticeable if I was playing that with chords or something too. But and Dickie Betts uses that 4th a lot in his leads. He doesn't use the 7th that would be up here as much. Another song of his that is that's in the key of E, and you could, and if you want, you know what? I think I even have this lead. I think I have a lesson up on this at the site, and I've got some of his leads written out. Matter of fact, you recognize this? That's it. That's the opening lead to Blue Sky.
Yeah.
Of theirs, You're my blue sky, you're my sunny day. It's another one of his songs that's in E, and there's a huge long jam. I mean, 3 minutes of the 5-minute song is just him playing solos over E's and A's back and forth. The whole rhythm part is E and A, and he's just, messing around in his favorite area of the neck right there.
Okay.
So you should take a look at that lesson too,
we'll look at that. So in theory, then, just from what we were just talking about, if you took a chord shape, if you had a F sharp minor, for example, and you could assume that chord shape up the neck someplace, could you then use the chords in that shape just to play the lead right there?
Yeah. Okay. You've hit on something really, really useful there, and that is, if you're up in this area and you're using mostly notes out of that pentatonic pan, if you could visualize an F sharp minor chord, which would be barred at the 9th fret out of the A family, the barred be at 9. Here's my F sharp minor out of the A's at the 9th fret.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know what? All those notes you have your fingers on are now harmonic notes because they're in the chord. So if you can visualize your F sharp minor chord, matter of fact, the note, one of the notes I said that he doesn't, that the fourth that is at the 10th fret of the second string right here,
Yes.
you've got your finger on it right now, right?
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Well, when they're on an F sharp minor chord, that's a really good time to use that note because it's in the chord.
Yes.
You know, so that's again, you know, so by knowing your chords up the neck, it can really help you find, even if you just got that pentatonic pattern in your head, it can make it really easy to know what's going to be a harmonic note at any given time. And if you can picture an E chord, an E major chord at the 7th fret out of the A family, put your first finger at the 9th fret. Put your first finger where your third is. Yeah. Those 3 notes on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th strings are all part of an E chord. You know? So it's like those notes are all going to be harmonic when I'm on E because that's an E chord.
They are. Okay.
Right? And when I go to F sharp minor, the A minor shape right above it is what's going to be in that chord.
Uh-huh.
Kind of follow that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this week, spend some time playing leads along with those 2 songs. You know, I mean, just messing around on your own, the way Dickie is.
Great.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, I think you'd have a good time with Blue Sky too, because there's some great little leads in there. I don't have, when he gets into the improvising part, I don't believe kind of in writing out leads that are improvised, but they have a lot of leads, Allman Brothers do, where the lead is specifically has to go one way. That's the melody to the song. You know, you hear something like this. What am I thinking of here? Well, that's the melody of the song in memory of Elizabeth Reed, you know, and it keeps coming back. Those are worth working on, you know, because it will give you an idea of some of the things you could do. I don't think I don't have that up as a lesson yet.
Okay.
I meant to many years ago and I got sidetracked in it, but you know, they are just fun to play along with and you know, try to steal some ideas from. If you hear Dickie do something, see if you can figure out what it was.
Yeah. Oop. Sorry. Hang on just 1 second here.
That's okay. We should wrap it up anyway now.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Let's just do that, and I'll see you in